Let me start by welcoming you, Subrah, and saying that NRI Global Summit is looking forward to having you attend in person, but happy to hear the reason you can't make it is because your daughter is receiving a National Recognition Award at Carnegie Hall on October 24th. You must be proud.
Yes, I'm extremely proud. My daughter, Iyar, is the recipient of the International Voice Award at the American Festival of Fine Arts in New York. And she's going to be singing that day, and of course I can't miss it.
What do you see as the most important trends in IT coming this year and beyond?
We started the concept of software as a service or online services in the cloud. We are 10 years into it, but typically these kind of transformation happen over multiple decades. You are going to see that acceleration happen. We enter the second decade. And historically, if you look back, all of the other trends, whether it was in things simple, even in the software revolution, the first 10 years was where there were a lot of skeptics in the PC revolution and PC software, and people said, no, it's never going to replace the mainframe. Yeah, it's a toy, etc., etc. And it gone to be reasonable size, and they said, okay, but it'll always be a subset of the mainframe business. Well, guess what? It's the next 10 years and the following 10 years, the second and third decades where it sort of completely exploded. I think we are poised at that phase for the software as a service in this decade, which is, I would say, from 2010 to 2020, and well beyond that. I think that will be a major trend, and it will dramatically change the landscape about how technology is consumed. And we already see it happening around us. Things such as, of course, Google, Facebook, WebEx, these are all services, but we're going to see a massive explosion of these kind of services in the next 10 to 15 years.
Subrah, what can you tell us about your current role at a very high level, although I realize your work is currently in stealth mode, with Cisco?
Yes. After the acquisition, John Chambers, the CEO of Cisco, wanted me to stay on and continue to be an active participant in Cisco's growth. At that time, I said that would be great, but I wanted out of the day-to-day operations role, which Cisco was great to accommodate. They hired some executives, and I moved on to the chief strategy role for Collaboration Software Group, wherein it is what is beyond WebEx, what are the next frontiers that we need to cross, where Cisco can be very well positioned to continue to be a leader in the space that they've chosen by the acquisition of WebEx. And that's sort of my real focus. I have a small team, and we work with customers in the area of, again, business-to-business collaboration in education, because Cisco's vision is how does the network play in work, in play, in education, and how we live. And so it spans all of these areas. So again, we work with real customers, developing new technologies, new capabilities. You'll see, which should see the light of day over the next several years.
The stress of sustaining a company for so long has had a high personal and professional price to pay. Did you think your sacrifices would end up in failure, or were you sure of your eventual success?
Well, there are days in which you're sure it's doomed for failure, and there were days or moments also where it's doomed for failure, and the same day later on you feel exhilarated because you hear good news. So it's all of the above, Did you know for sure? Well, sometimes you feel for sure, sometimes you're not so sure. I think once you embark on this kind of journey, there's almost no looking back. The more important factor was, and what is success and failure? I think when we started, the very concept that we were around was to be independent. You reach a certain point in your career that you can't work for anyone. And so success is not having to work for anyone. So the first phase of it is, how do you sort of take the business to such a point that you don't have to go back to working for someone? And I think that once you get past that, it's all gravy. And of course, you keep trying to build more and more till a point that you're doing it for freedom, but your freedom keeps getting curtailed because your responsibility grows to a point where you have less freedom. That's when it becomes counterintuitive. But that's the process one goes through.
So Subrah, are you still a workaholic?
Well, I never associate the word workaholic with me because I'm too lazy. I always look for sure, I would say a smart way of working. But I can get very passionate about what I do, so it can appear to others as workaholism, but I never work because I have to work. I always did things because I enjoyed it, and if I didn't want to do it, I didn't do it. And that's always been my problem, to motivate myself to do things I don't really like doing, but have to do. So, yeah, workaholic is actually one of the few things I am. I'm not a workaholic, because workaholic are people, at least my definition, who work because they love to work. I don't necessarily like to work. In fact, my wife said, "Oh, you love to work." I said, "No, just watch." In the last 2 years, she's convinced I don't like to work. So, in fact, she's very jealous because I don't like to work. Many things in business I love, and that I do, and that's not work.
Early on in WebEx history, Microsoft acquired Placeware. How did you persevere through the challenge of being faced with Microsoft as a competitor?
One of the common trends that tends to be out there is people look in awe of large companies and they think, wow, they're indefeatable. One of the advantages of working in big companies is to know that they are completely defeatable. It was a great advantage to work for Apple, to work for Intel. Large companies do certain things very, very well and everything else very badly. We just assume, they would like to create a myth that they do everything really well. It's like a large team of people. If you can think about thousands of people working in coordination, playing a game, they'll play that game very well. But you change the rules of the game slightly, and they will be completely out of sync in being able to play that game. So, for example, if you take the software business and software service, it sounds the same, but the business economics are different, and it's almost like the difference between playing tennis and racquetball. And a great tennis player can never be a great racquetball player, and vice versa. That understanding only comes by working in a large company and knowing that what they're good at and they're not good at. In my early years, I worked with Intel, and in that time worked a lot with closely with Microsoft. So we never had that awe that Microsoft could do everything. I knew that they couldn't do everything, and there were a lot of failures that people don't know about that they had. People saw their successes, but not the failures. But if you have a good understanding of their successes and their failures, you would know what they can do really well and what they can't do really well. And that's true for all large organizations. Actually, not even large, any medium-sized organization it becomes medium-sized because they do a few things really well. That means they can't, and nobody can do everything really well.
Subrah, there's no doubt that success has positive sides, but it also has negative sides. What are some of the negative sides that you have faced?
Clearly, we know the plus side, you get a lot of smart people who want to work with you, et cetera, and your brand gets established. On the negative side, there are also a lot of crooks out there, and you attract their attention. And they see you as a means to sort of, as an opportunity. And they can, say whatever they want because, if they don't have too many assets to their name, you could spend a lot of time just fighting them. So it takes a lot of mental discipline for you not to get distracted, because the one big asset that all of us have, the equalizing factor I call it, is time. And Bill Gates has the same number of days that the smallest entrepreneur in the world has. And how you use the time and the energy that you have and where you focus it on determines the outcome. And not to get distracted by, as I said, the more successful you are, the more you're going to attract elements who want a piece of the success in the right way or the wrong way. And that's one of the disciplines I think that is hard, but you learn the mental discipline of how do you not to get distracted by the wrong elements.
I think the NRI Global Summit attendees would love to hear a little bit about your family life and what led you to a life as an entrepreneur.
Well, my family life has clearly improved tremendously since I sold the company, and I don't have the responsibility of feeding 3,000 paychecks every month on a consistent basis. So as a result, I'm able to spend a lot more time, and it's also quality time. I used to hear the complaint before that I was physically present and mentally absent. Well, I'm mentally present and physically present, sometimes a bit too much, I think, and they would like me to go for a while. So things, so there is a strong relationship, and I'm very fortunate that, there are many years in my daughter's growth that I missed. However, the last few years, as in the teenage years, I've been able to spend a lot of time enjoying music, enjoying, games, and so on and so forth. So I've had a opportunity to bond with all of them. And that was part of one of the considerations when there was the choice of selling the company. Timing was a factor that it just played well. Otherwise, in a few years, my daughters go to college, and I think once and for all that opportunity will not be there for the rest of my life. So,
You've worked hard and you've earned your keep. Now that you've made a great deal of money, do you wake up in awe, or is every day just another day? How do you keep your feet on the ground?
Well, I wouldn't say wake up in awe. I wake up feeling very relaxed and happy, and remind myself. So most people say, they can see it in my face, and I'm more relaxed. I mean, I do feel very thankful that things worked out when I reflect on it. Yeah, feet on the ground, I think, I believe, I have a strong spiritual sense. And as much as I have put in efforts, etc., I do think that I was fortunate. Because I know a lot of people who do put in the effort, and sometimes they are not able to get results. And even for me, for example, it didn't happen overnight. It took 10, 15 years. So I think that I would hope, and I think that this strong spiritual sense keeps you grounded. And also, that it's not over yet, because happiness has got more to do than just financial rewards. So it does make it easier, particularly when you don't have to interact and deal with people you don't have to want to deal with. But you also know that now you're concerned about your family, your children, and how successful they are, et cetera, et cetera. So it's never over in terms of success is one dimension in the financial side. But there are so many other dimensions to life. So,
Indian entrepreneurs have evolved over the years. Can you express some of the changes that you've seen?
Well, one of the things in the Indian entrepreneurs in our time was that they typically came from a community of business people, of people whose families were already in business, typically. And so because access to capital was a major factor. And as a result, also there was almost a community orientation. Certain North Indian communities were more famous for taking risks, and South Indian communities were more education oriented, etc. There was all of those kinds of, I don't know whether stereotypes, whether they were true or not, but that's what the common perception was. I think it's changed dramatically. The tech boom changed the sort of face of the Indian entrepreneur, at least in this area, where they are very well educated people and who didn't come with a lot of capital. If you look at Infosys, Nandan Nilekani, in fact, I'm in a college with him, and Narayan Murthy, etc., they came with nothing except a very, very strong educational background. So that has changed dramatically, the shift in terms of who gets to sort of participate as being entrepreneurs. The second element also is a cultural element that India at that time, I think, had a much more of a, in a sense, an inferiority complex. We weren't winners on the world stage, and there was this feeling that our products, we couldn't compete. I think that has changed quite dramatically. You don't see that happening. And the third element is people in India used to look westward, or it was all around. If you had to be successful, outside the Indian market, which was hard, it was around exports. That's changed a lot. The Indian market itself represents a huge opportunity, and people don't necessarily start off thinking about it as purely, you've got to sell something abroad to be successful. So these are all elements that have changed completely the face of how, where you see the entrepreneurs come, what focuses it, what cultural background they come from, etc.
Subrah, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here, and thank you for being part of the NRI Global Summit. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and happy travels to you.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations. Take care.